Challenge for the Pacific, Guadalcanal, The Turning Point of the War, by Robert Leckie. Narrated by Kevin Foley. Copyright 1964 by Robert Leckie. Copyright renewed 1993 by Robert Leckie. This unabridged audiobook is published by arrangement with Bantam Books, an imprint of the Random House Publishing Group, a division of Random House Incorporated, and was produced in the year 2011 by Tantor Media Incorporated, which holds the copyright thereto. Preface. On August 7, 1962, the 20th anniversary of the landings at Guadalcanal, men of the 1st Marine Division Association received a message from Sergeant Major Vouza of the British Solomon Islands Police. Vouza said, "Tell them I love them all. Me old man now, and me no look good no more, but me never forget." Neither would anyone else who had been on Guadalcanal. Not the Japanese who tortured Vouza, and from whom this proud and fierce Solomon Islander exacted a fearsome vengeance. Not the Americans who ultimately conquered. For Guadalcanal, as the historian Samuel Eliot Morison has said, is not a name, but an emotion. It is a word evocative even of sense perception, of the putrescent reek of the jungle, the sharp ache of hunger, or the pulpy feel of waterlogged flesh, as well as of all those clanging, bellowing, stuttering battles, land, sea, and air, which were fought night and day to determine whether America or Japan would possess a ramshackle airfield set in the middle of 2,500 square miles of malarial wilderness. More important historically, Guadalcanal was the place at which the tide in the Pacific War turned against Japan. Although this distinction has often been conferred upon Midway, the fact remains that the naval air battles fought at Midway did not turn the tide, but rather gave the first check to Japanese expansion, while restoring, through the loss of 4 big Japanese aircraft carriers as against only 1 American, parity in carrier power. After Midway, the Japanese were still on the offensive. They thought that way, and they acted that way. "After Coral Sea and Midway, I still had hope," said Captain Toshikazu Omae, operations officer for the Japanese 8th Fleet. "But after Guadalcanal, I felt that we could not win." Rear Admiral Raizo Tanaka, commander of the Guadalcanal Reinforcement Force, goes even further, declaring, "There is no question that Japan's doom was sealed with the closing of the struggle for Guadalcanal." Captain Tomeichi Hara, a destroyer commander who fought under Tanaka at both Midway and Guadalcanal, shares his chief's opinion, writing, "What really spelled the downfall of the Imperial Navy, in my estimation, was the series of strategic and tactical blunders by Admiral Yamamoto after Midway, the operations that started with the American landing at Guadalcanal in early August 1942. And from the Japanese Army, as represented by Major General Kiyotaki Kawaguchi, commander of Japan's first major attempt to recapture the island, comes this categorical statement. Guadalcanal is no longer merely a name of an island in Japanese military history. It is the name of the graveyard of the Japanese Army." Guadalcanal was also the graveyard for Japan's Air Force. Upwards of 800 aircraft, with 2,362 of her finest pilots and crewmen, were lost there. Perhaps even more important, the habit of victory deserted the heretofore invincible Japanese pilots there, and before the battle was over, Japanese carrier power ceased to be a factor in the Pacific until, nearly 2 years later, the invasion of Saipan lured it to its effective destruction. Japanese naval losses were also high. Even though Japan's loss of 24 warships, totaling 134,389 tons, was hardly greater than the American loss of 24 warships, totaling 126,240 tons, Japan could not come close to matching the American replacement capacity. Finally, the total American dead was, at the utmost, only about 1/10 of the Japanese probable total of 50,000 men. However, neither comparative statistics nor the number of men and arms engaged can measure a battle's importance in history. Only a few hundred fell when Joan of Arc raised the siege of Orleans and changed the course of events in the West, while Marathon, Valmy, Saratoga